So good morning, friends. We have Mr. Sunil Kataria with us. He is the man behind the Complete Man. Obviously Raymond's everyone has heard. I think it's the most popular brand when it comes to weddings and occasions when you want to get suited. Not among the most popular, but the most. Now, just to give you some figure, to get me suited, you need around 2 meter fabric for the suit and another 1.5 meter for the trouser and the shirt. Exactly. Now, Raymond sold almost 500 millions of fabric just to get you suited last year. So you can imagine 125 million people, purchasing on an individual basis just last year. That is the kind of scale that we are talking about today. Just wanted to understand from you now, how difficult is it to predict consumer behavior, especially when you're talking at scale?
Yeah, okay. So first of all, good afternoon, everyone. So let me tell you, consumer behavior prediction was never easy.
Yeah.
I mean, people ask this question whether it's become tougher post-COVID. But I can tell you, been marketer throughout my life in FMCG, it's the most tricky question you can ask, and it's the most tricky thing you can try. And you can do a lot of researches, but finally, it takes a lot of intuitive judgment at times based on research to really get the consumer insight right. I think what's happened maybe post-COVID, it become even more difficult, right? And I think one of the reasons for that is there is some very fundamental human behavior shift which COVID has caused. So like one of that is that, and this has happened across generations, is that you really are looking at life a little more here and now.
Okay.
This whole phenomena of what you call you only live once. So I think that's something which has really come into play now. And that makes consumer behavior very difficult to use long-term trends to build. Otherwise, you could say, okay, what's the likely long-term trend in India? What could be the long-term fashion trend in this market, et cetera, et cetera. But now those things are going out of the window because people are taking a lot of decisions which could be very impulsive and which could be, let me act for the experience here and now. So I think that's what it is making it difficult right now. Okay. So it's very difficult to predict in that sense.
Okay. In the retail scenario, are you seeing a big contrast when consumers of mass products aren't buying so much, but we see premium products flying off the shelves? Why? How do you explain this contrast and divergence?
Yeah. So I think there are three I think buckets which are really causing this. So one is obviously this whole COVID-led phenomena which I talk, which has led to fundamental behavior changes, which is you only live once. There's a lot of health consciousness. People are very bothered about safety. They are be a little bit more conscious about community. And this is impacting across sectors. And this behavior is across sectors. It's nothing to do with fashion and apparel alone. Second, I think is a fact, definitely there's a generational shift, whether we see millennials or whether we see Gen Z, which is behaving very differently. And one of the reasons for that is millennials have got a very large safety net of their parents who actually were into saving all their life, right? And if you see, most millennials would have a cover of enough wealth from their parents, which means they don't have to bother about at least the basics, whether it's food, whether it's education, right? Some basic amount of, luxury, I won't say luxury, but let's say, entertainment. So that day-to-day need of saying, okay, I have to save for myself is not there.
Sure.
So that's a second factor. So COVID-led behavior change, generational shift. And the third definitely is the economic factors, in which what has happened post-COVID is that whether it's the inflation post-COVID, whether it is the pressure which the mass belly of India went through COVID, they were the ones most hit. It is leading to a K-shaped economic recovery across sectors. Okay. And if you put all these three together, what is happening? The fact is, rich were always spending on luxury. It was nothing new phenomena.
Right.
The big phenomena which is changed is this whole COVID-led, you only live once, consciousness of health, plus the fact is I don't have to bother about earning or saving for myself. It's leading to the middle class opting for premiumization. And that's the shift. And there the category which is building up very well is the category which we call as bridge to luxury.
Sure.
Luxury was always happening through the rich. But I think the bridge to luxury, or some people may call it masstige, that's the category which is fueling this K curve right now. And you can see it in housing, you can see it in apparels, you can see it in cars, you can see it everywhere.
So if consumers have to dip into the savings, how does the future look like? Because there will be a point where savings will be
Yeah.
exhausted.
So first of all, I think this generation is really maybe not even dipping into savings,
Okay.
right? I think they don't bother too much about saving too much. Secondly, I think what's also happening is that the data, if you see, that the credit consumption in India is going up. There's a very large growth which is happening on the credit side. So as a result, what is happening is, and plus if you see what is fueling all this growth is also, zero interest EMIs.
Sure.
So you don't have to bother too much. So I think the generation is right now saying, okay, I'll live for the present and then I'll see for the future. They may not be having too much savings, but yeah, I think at the same time, it's not that always that they're just not having anything in the bank. One thing also has happened is that at least in urban, if you see the data over the last 10 years, the average income definitely has gone up.
True.
So I think it's a mix of these factors. I don't think it's going to run out, but I think for a overall growth, the mass has to start kicking in.
Right. But do you think this consumer behavior, is it sustainable for a longer term?
Okay, I think at the top end, what we are seeing, let's say the middle class doing premiumization, I mean, affordable, rich guys anyway have enough money for luxury.
True.
I think this will sustain because of two factors. One is really, I think India's overall economic growth is enough to create opportunities for urban income right now. So I think that I don't think is going to be under threat because there is enough income getting generated. I mean, India is growing finally at 6.8 to 7%. It's not a broad-based growth, that's for sure, right? But this part of like for example, the last data I saw, urban wages have grown at around 10% over the last, 4-5 years. It is the agri economy, the rural wages which are really under trouble. So I think this part of behavior, which is premiumization-led growth, or let's say the upper arm of K curve, will continue. But I think the bottom part of the K curve needs to kick in.
Sure. How different or similar is the entire consumer behavior or trend when it comes to shopping pre-pandemic and now? Has it changed fundamentally?
Okay, yes and no. And I'll tell you the reasons which have changed and which have not changed. So first of all, see there are two kinds of behaviors I think what are happening. One the ones which have not changed are the ones which permanently have dented your psyche and subconscious, which I've talked about.
True.
The way you look at life. Then there was a set of behaviors which was forced by COVID, which was the social gatherings, the social life of human beings, online shopping behavior with no physical store visits. Right? These were forced behaviors. Pandemic just put you into it. Now what has happened post-pandemic? The first one has sustained, that you're looking at life differently. It's changed. The second one, I think, is come back, but stabilized at a little higher level. So let's say if online shopping was the only way you could shop during COVID, what it did, it increased the penetration of e-retail in India. Now it's stabilized at a lower level, but much higher than COVID. But it's come back. The physical stores are back in full swing. So that's the way, I would say, there are two kinds of behaviors. One which are permanent and one which are, I think, sustaining at a higher level, but have gone down.
You've spent a large part of your life selling soaps and shampoos, basically in FMCG. Now, how different is it to sell a product which is not, purchased as frequently? Or how similar is it? Is it a part of the same industry you would call?
Yeah, so this is session. This is one way I can actually take a full session on. This is something I spent a lot of time thinking, reflecting, and I've learned it over the last 2 years now. So let me tell you what's FMCG all about. You're an FMCG veteran yourself. So what is FMCG all about? If you ask me, think about this. What is the last big soap innovation which has happened in FMCG globally? Which one is the last big innovation you can think in last 100 years?
Shower gels, maybe?
In soap bars.
In soap bars.
In 100 years, in a century, which is the innovation which FMCG has done in soap?
Maybe the curved soap in the terms of...
It's only innovation is Dove.
Dove, oh, okay.
Because it's 25% creme and it's a patent they have, right? Obviously, nobody can copy it. That's the only true innovation which has happened in soaps.
In India or globally?
Globally, I'm saying. Okay. Globally, if you think, which is the big disruptive innovation, there's one innovation in soaps, which is 100% penetrated category globally. Now, that's the challenge. In FMCG, what happens, the innovations don't happen at a very fast pace. Although it's a myth that FMCG does product innovation. When FMCG does product innovation, they are disruptive. Then they disrupt the market. And the person who does the innovation has a very, very long competitive advantage of couple of years at least. Like I can tell you, in Good Night, for example, we did the fast card,
Yeah.
right?
That
Till
was
no,
an
I mean,
innovation.
there were 4 years till anybody caught up. Or the Good Night, that push karo, khush karo, the button.
Right.
That button people could copy for 5 years. So when that happens, right, it takes time. But product innovations are less in FMCG, which is something which is very surprising to think of, right? So what FMCG does, because FMCG, the products don't change every day. It's a daily commodity, right? Daily use, right? So the products don't change. Once the innovation happens, they last long. Hence, the whole model of FMCG is built on A, building brand saliency, B, really creative cut through advertising which communicates the benefit, right? Whether emotionally or functionally, and the advertising plays a very big role
Right.
of both brand saliency and getting a message across. And the third pillar is it's mass. You have to create a moat of millions and millions of outlets for distribution. Now come to what happens in, let's say,
Retail.
fashion retail. Let's talk.
Sure.
Okay, since I'm from that. So fashion retail, there's one big consumer difference is in all the FMCG categories, all new words, some of them, the most of the benefits that you're looking for, except in most FMCG, actually, people don't know that what product you have used when you're stepping out. I don't know which soap I took bath with, right? Nobody will know. You don't know what soap I've used in the morning.
Right.
You won't know what perfume I've used. Perfume you can still may ask me. You can
Absolutely,
experience
yeah.
it at least. So maybe that's a different example. You won't know, okay, what mosquito repellent is in my home, what laundry cleaner is in my washing machine.
Sure.
So the products are by and large for your own functional self, or they are for your own self image.
Okay.
You feel good using, let's say, a Lakme, okay, or what is this? The Derma or something. I'm forgetting the company.
Shampoo is the wrong
Shampoo.
example.
Or
for
let's
me,
say I'm
but
feel
yeah.
good using Mama Earth, but I feel very good using Neutrogena. It's all known to me. So it's all about benefits, functional, and an emotional benefit of self.
True.
Hence, product plays a lesser role, advertising plays a bigger role.
Okay.
Okay, and distribution plays a bigger role. In fashion retail, actually, is the epitome of self-projection. I mean, all of us who are sitting there, we would have been very particular in the morning. Okay, what are we going to wear today?
Right.
How I'm looking in the mirror, right? Do I look good? Does this match or no? Because what you are wearing is an extension of your personality, and it's what your projections. This is a fundamental consumer difference between FMCG and this thing. So what happens here is, the biggest importance is product.
Okay.
It's, and that's why this product changes very often.
So do you think the loyalty factor and the consumer stickiness in fashion retail would be much, much higher compared to an FMCG, which has been traditionally perceived as, having higher loyalty,
You're saying FMCG has higher loyalty for sure.
despite, being so personal?
And I tell you, the reason for that is distribution.
Okay.
Actually, the biggest reason is distribution. Distribution creates a hell of a lot of loyalty because I'll tell you what happens in FMCG. The product is so mundane, right, that once you get used to it, you're buying it every month, then you don't think too much about it, right? I get used to it. So either I like the benefit, and by them it's something, it's a very, most FMCG products other than beauty and personal care, if you leave apart, are not very high involvement categories, right?
Right.
So you get into a rhythm of buying them. What happens here is, since it's a self-projection, I think the challenge of this industry is that every time I step into the market in a store, my product comes for a revaluation. I could have liked your product in the last collection. I walk into the same store and I said, no, they have nothing new this time. So you could actually, so here the loyalty is to the product.
Okay.
That's one which happens. Secondly, you get bored also. You want different occasions, different styles. So there is a more, experimentation in this industry. So I think the key here is the product. And that's all.
When we think of Raymond's, the entire perception is revolving around weddings or an occasion, but that can't be scalable. How are you content with the fact that the perception is only around weddings and occasions, large occasions, and not a daily wear?
Yeah, okay, so maybe some data on this. Let me just tell you. So Raymond is, yes, Raymond is a brand which in India, no wedding can be complete without Raymond. That's a pretty much whether this brand over has built. But I think there is, and there are advantages and there are disadvantages of this. So one of the brilliant facts about Raymond, I think, is Raymond, while it was built around occasions, I would not say only weddings, around occasions, in which India wedding is a very large occasion in itself. But if you see, Raymond's brand advertising has been the most unlike any fashion advertising. It's built around a very fundamental emotional ethos.
Right.
Right? That's been the Raymond advertising. Raymond advertising hardly showed ever any products. It's very, very contra to the whole category of fashion, actually, where you show tuxedos and you show people walking. Actually, Raymond was all about emotions. So that is one thing which I think has helped the brand remain relevant for century. I mean, now we're just about to complete a century next year. 2025 will be a centenary year. So in the 99th year, right? And it's helped you remain relevant because you have built an emotional connect, unlike most fashion industry which operates on product connect.
Right.
Right? So that's what one thing. But having said that, I think, yes, one thing definitely which Raymond is doing right now, and when I talk Raymond, we are doing it through Raymond as well as Raymond's other portfolio of brands, which are Park Avenue, Color Plus, and Parks. So when you see the company has 4 brands, and now we're the 5th one, which is Ethnics by Raymond, the ethnic ready wear. So we have 5 brands to play in that sense. Is that, yes, we very clearly are seeing 3 pivots emerging for the brand, or let me talk the Raymond brand itself, is that we need to become more relevant for youngsters first. And what that means is that we need to have the same ethos of the complete man, but the interpretation of complete man changes in every generation.
Right.
What is complete man to my father, to your generation, my generation, or which is going to be the millennials, it's a very different interpretation. Okay. So I think the brand has done over the years, I think that's something important, that you keep on interpreting the complete man from the today's man's perspective. That's one thing. Second, I think the Raymond's one big piece we have kicked off is in the ready-to-wear segment, it is the most unleveraged jewel of Raymond business, is that we have not been able to build till now Raymond ready-to-wear to the potential that we wanted. True. So that's a big journey which is happening, that we are opening up stores of Raymond ready-to-wear. And third pivot is that we are getting into a lot of casualization in ready-to-wear. So what you would see in Raymond would be a lot of casual assortments coming into play, which will be completely different from the suits and the suits and shirts imagery, that formal shirts are the imagery that you're seeing. So there's a portfolio of casualization emerging. There's a very large footprint expansion happening, and this is being driven first by ready-to-wear, but it is also happening in the fabrics. Another thing which is happening is within wedding itself, there is a phenomena which has happened over the last 7-8 years in India, is the emergence of ethnic wear.
True.
So Indian weddings have split now. From suits, they've also moved to a lot of ethnics, right? So I think that's where we said, okay, maybe that's an opportunity. We may have not been maybe the first movers, but that's something where we believe we have a very clear right to win, given that the point you made that, I mean, weddings belong to us, right? So that is where this whole Ethnics by Raymond has got launched. And we have almost 125 odd stores by this March we'll have. Okay. So which is a very large foray that we are doing. So this is how the brand is evolving, and while there's an emotional connect which will get refreshed at a larger level.
Just to clarify, when you say a complete man, I hope it's gender agnostic, not the man in terms of the gender that you're referring to.
Okay, so till now if you see, the whole piece, okay, when you're saying it should not appeal only to the man, yeah, that's perfectly fine. If you see most of the Raymond advertising, the biggest emotions have flowed when the role of the man with respect to others has come into play.
Right.
So Raymond man has never been about only self. There's obviously a self involved. Sure. It's about the relationship with, the kids, the relationship with friends. In fact, if you see the last campaign of wedding which happened a year back, which we did, we actually showed bromance for the first time in that campaign. With the friends come in and they dance like crazy, and to the Raymond sing the tune and all, and this thing. So it's a very different emotion, because today's generation is heavily into this visible bromance,
Sure.
Which maybe bromance was always there, but it was not so visible earlier in the generations.
Sure. Just the last question now, when we talk about India being a very large market with untapped potential, low per capita income, but your pricing, do you think is a barrier? We will never be able to reach where some of the early FMCG products went, just because of the barrier, and maybe you don't want to sell there.
Yeah, okay, so clearly, so we have defined, in a classical way, what is our addressable market. So we have defined our TAM, what we call as the total addressable market. In every industry, there are huge amount of price warriors which are there, whether it's FMCG, whether it's paints or anywhere. So let me tell you first of all, it's not that Raymond is very premium. Raymond, was the reason we sell 500 million in meters in fabrics and lakhs in even apparel is because we start from almost 300 rupees a meter product going up to 1 lakh rupee a meter product. So one of the things which amazed me as a marketeer when I moved in there are very few brands which can carry that stretch. And that really amazed me, that you will have a suit which can be a 5 lakh rupees suit and you can have a suit which would be maybe a 6,000 rupee suit. So that stretch is already built in. But yeah, what we won't want to play is there is maybe 10 times the bigger market, which is, let's say, a 200 rupee market, which will be very bad fabric, very shoddy fabric. Because one thing which we can't touch is that Raymond as a brand has got very inherent thing of trust.
Right.
That the moment you pick Raymond, the quality you can't compromise. People say that is given. Rest all stitching, tailoring and all, sometimes you can go wrong in a store still, depending on individual. But that can't go wrong. So that part of the market, which maybe 5 times our size, if this is 500 million meters and that could be another 2,500, 3,000 million meters lying there, that we will never go into. Because, it's not about making the product, it's about making the product the right thing. So that's the piece. Now, having said that, to the question, are we going to be in villages? The fact is, a lot of rural weddings in India which happen in April, May, June. See, April, May, June are the Bharat weddings, right? While the winter are the India weddings in that sense, One of the largest markets for us actually is Bihar. It's one of the largest markets for us. And while, fabric may not get distributed in a very classical FMCG way, there are wholesalers who must be selling or would sell into small, the villages will come to feeder markets and buy it. Now, whether they buy a 500 rupee meter product, 1,000 rupee, again depends on disposable income. But yeah, Raymond even now today goes to villages. Yeah, I would say it goes more for weddings today rather than for daily consumption.
Got it. Do we have time for questions? Okay, he'll be able to answer questions only if someone is wearing a Raymond suit, like I am one today. Maybe that I think he'll better answer those questions. Any questions from the audience?
Good morning, Sunil. Krishnan here. So given the wedding segment, which is extremely big in a country like India, and you spoke about Raymond's in the 99th year already, do you feel Ethnics as a separate brand, were we a bit late as far as launching the brand, given the huge customer database we have? And like for every wedding, Raymond's is a chosen brand. So why not for ethnic wear? So was the brand contemplating the entry of Ethnics earlier? And was it late? And how do you see the future of Ethnics? You spoke about 125 stores. And how do you plan to captivate and capitalize on the market in the next few years to come?
Yeah, okay. I think it's a very, very relevant question, which we ourselves is part of a very large strategy right now. So yeah, if you ask me, Raymond should have been the first mover in this segment. There's nothing to, if something you reflect back, yeah, why not? We had launched this brand and we were just stepping into launching this brand actually pre-COVID. It's not everyone. And then suddenly COVID happened. But yeah, I think if in hindsight, you could have said, why not 2 years before COVID also? So I think the COVID disrupted the launch itself. And then we have launched it post-COVID. The good part, in any market, what happens is, in ethnic wear, there's a very large unbranded market in India. Just like it's a classical FMCG playing out there. Not in terms of the market, pillars, but in market structure, I can say. So a large part of the sherwanis, the Indo-Westerns are still getting stitched by local tailors and darzis in small towns of India. They buy ceremonial clothes, as we call ceremonial fabrics, and they get it stitched. Or we have seen also now India is also full of a lot of small local regional brands who buy from big markets in Delhi, Bombay, etc. and put their local labels, and then they sell it. So I think the game is, it's a large unbranded market sitting out there. And the good part, if you ask me, for all the people who are entering on, let's talk ourselves right now. There is only one branded player in this country right now in ethnic wear, right? And obviously not right for me to take the name. That's a damn good place to be. Because in any market, as markets mature, and all of you who run businesses would know that, Sagar would know this from all FMCG structures, till you have 3 to 4, 5 players cornering around 70% of the market is ripe for entry. Yeah, when market becomes fragmented is when top 4 guys have cornered 80% of the market or 70%. Then you have very little chance to make any meaningful difference. This market, large unbranded market, growing at almost the data we have seen around 12% per annum, much faster than other parts of the segment. And consumer behavior really fueling it, because Indians want to now wear ethnic wear not only in weddings, even on regular occasions, a very different ethnic segment is emerging. And there is one player. So now we believe we have biggest right of win. What we've been able to come into, and the first year has been exceptional for us, is that we've got the product right, which is very important in this segment. Because that self-projection that I was talking about, you can't have a bigger self-projection than in a wedding or a sangeet or a mehendi on the thing. There you want to look special, even if you're not the groom. That's how you behave. If you're not the groom, you want to look special. You want to be hatke, as you would call it, right? There you get the product and design right. There you get the store ambience right. And if you have the right brand, you will make a difference. And that's what we're happy about. Okay, so our target is not to take share from anybody at all. This market is ripe to expand, and upgrade from unbranded to branded. And that's where we are focusing. So the future is this thing. We want to double our stores from 125 to around 250 in a matter of another 1 year. We've launched 100 odd stores in a matter of a year. We want to make sure that we have another 125 odd stores maybe in a year to 18 months. And then we'll make it bigger and bigger. But we believe the market will grow. There was some
One
question.
more, I think.
Hi, this is Manisha. I'm from Tata Click. So my question is, a few years back, I remember there was Park Avenue for women.
Yeah.
And I used to buy a lot from there.
Oh,
I just wanted
okay,
to
good.
understand any specific reason why did we discontinue in order to consolidate or whatever?
Yeah, okay. So I was not here, so I can only come from what I've heard from the teams. So it's coming from let's say, a passed down knowledge. Okay, so that will be the limitation of this thing. So Park Avenue women, yes, I think it was the first foray, because this is the question now. A lot of people have asked us why Raymond doesn't make women's suits. And this is something which we have debated like crazy. I mean, there's no meeting passes in a month when this point doesn't get debated by somebody. Yeah, there's one crying need in this country, is that there is women's entry into workforce happening, the middle echelons of the corporate world. They are moving to Western wear. And women, I guess, struggle the most to get the right stitch, because finally, everyone can't have ready-mades fitting them. And women are much more demanding customers. There's no debate about it. So we are still said, okay, maybe Raymond is just so much a man ethos that Raymond, you can never say no, but I don't see, if you ask me, Raymond being a women's foray. That's when Park Avenue happened. And I think it was a very, very good decision, maybe in hindsight, that Park Avenue is a brand which is a younger brand. It's a brand which is an experimentative brand. That's the whole persona of that brand. It's a fantastic brand to extend into, Park Avenue women. And yes, that started. As you said, first of all, thank you to the customer. I think come COVID, most companies got really hit and they had to make prioritization. And then this whole point happened that should we consolidate a bit more and go back to less is more? And I think Park Avenue women got pulled back because of that. And then when we have come back again and we have done an entire strategy again, then we have again prioritized, and maybe things like ethnics for men seems a much more closer adjacency, a much bigger right to win. That's happened. But yeah, I would not rule out Park Avenue women for the future. I mean, maybe we'll come back at some stage, hopefully.
Thank you so much for your time. I'm really excited. Thank you so much.